All right. All right. All right. All right. Very well. It is good because we are beta testing a new microphone. Good morning to all. Hope it's working. Hope there will be no hiccups. Because at this point of time now it's a raffle completely. That every single podcast of the Ghost, every single Ghost community call, the microphone is not working. All right. People are coming. People are joining. Good morning. Good morning. Beautiful. Brilliant. Let's go. Okay. We fixed it. Congratulations. It only took a month. Uh, we had to involve a number of engineers to select the right microphone. Aye, aye, aye. So, since there will be no hiccups, we can actually start with some questions. If you guys have any whatsoever, please put them in the YouTube chat or put them in the Wales chat. Would like to address those. Other than that, we have some updates. Not necessarily very positive. It's just updates, just how they are, just how they're supposed to be. And these updates only prove that the space is absolutely swamped with Web 2.5 applications. And those Web 2.5 applications are not really helping the Web 3 digital revolution. Those Web 2.5s, though, do significantly help Bitcoin to keep being a monopoly, which again, we will never criticize against because Bitcoin is an amazing creation. However, would be great to also be actually using blockchain to disrupt certain industries. And if the space is swamped with Web 2.5, it's pretty damn hard to move your point across because some initiatives do require partnerships. Some initiatives do require investors funding, right? So think about this. So let's talk about partnerships and let's also talk about investors. So the investors game is sufficiently easy, right? So nobody knows what's good. Nobody knows what's going to work. Nobody knows which startup is going to be successful at the end, is going to 10x, 100x, 1000x. So investors are significantly moved by the peer pressure. And whatever the peer pressure says, that's what most investors do. Now, if the peer pressure is saying that Web 2.5 is good, meaning let's do KYC, for example, or let's ban certain countries or regions, for example, or let's create mailing lists from our users and then use these mailing lists against the users. Like one DApp I was interacted with a couple weeks ago asked me to connect my wallet, and I was only able to connect my wallet if I provided my email address to it. Which is like, why, right? But if that's what the peer pressure is all about, then when you come to the same investors and say, hey, listen, here is a Ghost, privacy, decentralized cross-chain protocol, no KYC, perfectly decentralized, the community needs to have the majority of the tokens, etc. The investors just awestruck. They just don't understand why is that happening, right? Because, and most importantly, they think you're the fool, right? It's not them, it's you, which is really, really bizarre. Now, when it comes down to partnerships, it's something very similar, right? Because you do have Web3 partners that you could approach, and we do have those. For example, Gnosis proved to be pretty good. We have, I would say, Linea is really trying to push the envelope. They obviously get what Web3 is all about. Aurora, to some extent, is pushing forward as well. Aster chain, not helping us much, but they did help before. Pretty positive, right? Uh, but I'll show you a couple of examples today how the Web 2.5 partnerships just make it worse. Really make it worse. How do they make it worse in particular? they partner with Web 2.5's, making it the default use case for how everybody else should be partnering as well, right? So I'll show you a couple of examples today, and maybe that's a great segue for me to start. Let me open the, okay, so you guys see my screen. Okay. So let me just go to Twitter and essentially like go over some interesting developments, right? So we have the development potentially with Mint Chain. You guys remember Mint blockchain, right? So very good. Actually, before this, let's go through the Ghost itself, right? Okay, so on the Ghost official channel, we have 14.5 followers. Not a single one of these followers have been paid by the Ghost team. Are all of them real? I doubt. It probably is not the case. But we did not pay a single dollar for any of these. Now, keep in mind, let's round this up to 15,000 followers. And that's what Cosmos has been telling me and has been pushing me to produce videos on this front. And I'm just slow. And therefore, let's just cover them right now, like in this demo mode. Okay, so 15,000 followers. Let's round it up. Let's actually maybe round it even to 20,000 followers. I'll explain why. So 20,000 followers we have. Okay. The engagement. Well, obviously, pretty weak. We did not promote this tweet yet. The engagement here, we did not promote this tweet either. We just started promoting this. Now it's 34 right there. We promoted the poll yesterday. Majority of our users have Windows, which is surprising. But I have Windows myself. Linnea, 56. Okay, fine. That's not just us. Although significant portion of those likes and retweets is coming from the Ghost community, right? It's probably around 40 and 40 here. So the Linnea Universe channel with 10,000 followers, only gave a fraction of these interactions, right? So then we proceeding with, let's assume, well, this one is also layer 2 insider, fine. We did not promote this, we did not promote this, 41 likes, right? That's us, 44 likes, then that's the YouTube right there, 45. So our engagement, right? 40, let's just round it down to 40 retweets, 40 likes. When it comes down to 20,000 followers, not even 20, 15, but let's round this up to 20,000 followers, right? So that's the engagement so far. So in our essentially model here, we have every, how many? Like every 500th person is interacting with the post. And we have to keep in mind that we just recently started being more active in the Whales community. We just recently restarted the Ghost Weekly community calls. We finally started pushing some educational content on how Ghost works because it's a super complicated ecosystem. And lots of those followers that we have are kind of not real, potentially, right? Again, we didn't pay for them, but they're not real. But in our model here, every 500th person is liking or retweeting. Okay? So that's essentially what's happening with the Ghost. Okay, let's go to other blockchains that are supposedly completely Web3. Mint blockchain. The reason why I'm so aggravated by Mint, because Mint promised us a number of deliverables, and that's the only reason why we considered Mint. They reached out to us themselves about maybe 3-4 months ago. They are an EVM chain. It's a roll-up. It's a fork of Optimism designed for NFTs, funded by Optimism as well. Whether it's Optimism Foundation or Optimism Investors, does not matter. There is some type of affiliation with the Optimism team overall, with the Optimism project, which is a roll-up layer 2 for the Ethereum, which is a competitor to Arbitrum. Okay. So they reached out, Mint Chain reached out, and we said, okay, fine, we have a couple of products we can deploy. In fact, we can actually also go ahead and deploy Ghost Auction. Like, you guys will be the first mainnet for us. They said, sure. And they gave us a whole list of deliverables, including tweets, retweets, including articles, joint articles, where they would draft it or we would draft it and we would post it together, because that's an actual, so we actually live on Mint chain for Ghost NFT and also Ghost Auction. We didn't announce this yet. That's not a marketing launch. That's an engineering launch. So engineering launch is when everything's prepared, and marketing launch is like, oh, now we just need to announce it, right? So marketing launch is typically, whatever, couple of weeks, maybe at most couple of months. But we're waiting for like a couple of months already because we deployed like 2-3 months ago on Mint blockchain. Then the integration with Mint, they also promised us a couple of, 3 NFT collections to be introduced to in order for these NFT collections to play with the Mint chain, etc. How does it work? So it works in the following way. So a chain comes up, right? Chain typically has some traffic. They typically fund it. And the projects that need to deploy on this chain typically get promotion because for us, for Ghost, we don't have to deploy on Mint. We don't care, right? We can deploy on any other chain. We live on 20 plus EVM chains for Ghost NFT, for God's sake, right? So why do we need another chain? Especially if it doesn't promote us, right? And I'll explain why that's a problem because the chain can change the logo. We need to change the logo on our side. The chain can change the RPC endpoints. We need to change the RPC endpoints on our side. The chain can change the explorer. We need to change all the URLs or the links. So it sounds like, oh, it's little things to do, but it's constant. It's constant. So the more chains, the more headache. And adding another chain plus one, especially trying to focus Ghost Auction deployment, which is a new product, on a chain, only makes sense if that chain promises promotion, which they did. Long and behold, 2 weeks before, Mint Chain reached out to us and said, hey, listen, we're not sure what kind of traffic can you guys bring us to the Mint Chain. So now the tables are turned. So again, originally, how does it work is the chain has some traffic because they're able to get community because that chain is supposedly 20,000 times better than Ethereum, right? It's faster, more throughput, larger block size, like as far as, storage. Better user experience, I don't know, cheaper fees, like whatever the hell they create, right? So typically they attract some users, some investors for that premise, for that value proposition. And based on this value proposition, you have also the community base. And that community base then is engaged supposedly with dApps that deploy on that specific chain. So how it's supposed to work is the chain brings all the traffic, and then the dApps that decide to take a chance, to take a bet on that specific chain, deploy, have it in mind to deal with all the BS technical issues, marketing issues, whatnot, business development issues, just issues in general. But now Mint, being, sneaky, again, potentially sneaky, we don't know yet, but that's the sentiment, are turning the tables. They're saying, listen, how about you guys bring us traffic? Okay, so Ghost Chain needs to bring them traffic. Therefore not Ghost Chain, but Ghost dApps like Ghost NFT and Ghost Auction needs to bring them traffic. Interesting. Let's look at Mint. So, okay, 365,000 followers. Wow, this project is so much better than Ethereum. I'm already seeing it. I feel it. I freaking feel it. Whom are they following, by the way? Let's see. Are they following Layer Bank? Wow, Layer Bank. Mint ecosystem. No shit. Bitcoin. Wow. Mint Swap. Great. Do they follow Optimism? Of course they follow Optimism and Ethereum Foundation. Of course, that's very important. Okay, so they do have the following 10 channels, but they have 365,000 followers. Remember, everyone out of 500 people for our traffic that we didn't pay a single dollar to is liking and retweeting us consistently. Before it was a lot more. So it's been like this for the last 2 years. Mint Chain is a new chain. So the engagement is supposed to be insane. And it is insane, of course. Look at that. Look at this pinned post, July 15th. Crazy. 26,000 likes. It's crazy. Almost 1 million impressions, meaning almost 1 million people saw this specific tweet. 25,000 retweets. No fucking way. Wow, crazy stuff. Okay. That's the pinned post, though. Next one. Whoops. 15 likes, 7 retweets. No way. 40 likes and 8 retweets. Remember, we have 40 likes, but we have 20,000 followers. Not even 20, we have 15. So we have 40 times less. 40 times less followers, right? Next one. 177. Still, like, they're beating us, but they are supposed to. So if we have 40 likes and 40 retweets for each tweet, they're supposed to have 1,600 likes and 1,600 retweets for every single post. 1,600. And we're not seeing this. Of course, we see impressions. Impressions mean nothing. It's all about engagement. It's all about likes and retweets. All right. Likes, retweets. It's not even close to 1,600. And then 25 likes and retweets. Now, this one is worse than the one that we have. Right? Like some tweets are just, right? So we constantly see this, right? And Cosmos pointed this out first, 8 months ago, where the idea was to go through every single project out there and to go through its social media, because social media will be a great metric, a great litmus test for identifying whether this project does have any community whatsoever. And we can see clearly that Mint doesn't have anything. That now begs a question. Why does Mint exist, and how are they able to survive? And if are they so smart that they are able to raise money? And here I'm gonna pretty much move away from Mint and focus more on essentially a revolution, like a Web 2.5 swamp, right, of these projects, because it seems to us that Mint is one of those Web 2.5. So as you can see, I'm using US VPN. So this US, like essentially all the traffic goes through the US, right? But let's go through something else, right? Chainlist.org. Boom. So let's here search for the Mint, right? So Mint chain, boom, Mint mainnet, right? So this is the old Mint, I think that's old one. Actually, maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, so boom, maybe this, yeah. So check this out. So you see how the score here is all green, it's all positive, it's all working out. I'm using US VPN. Let's see what happens if I stop being from the US. So let me just do Mint. I could be wrong here, I actually didn't check it. Okay, so this one, see how like Asia RPC, Global RPC, this RPC mintchain.io is not operating. So it's interesting, right? How US made this one possible, right? Like it was a green check mark. And now that I'm accessing not from the US, because I just changed my traffic, now all of a sudden it's red. So, and that's the official RPC mint, that's the main RPC endpoint. So what does RPC stand for? RPC is the way for you to connect to a node. So if you want to add network to your MetaMask, you will have to insert as one of the fields the RPC address. And of course, you always insert the main one, because the main one is the most sustainable one, the best one. Thing is, if this one here is a red cross, I'm unable to add chain to my MetaMask. So we are talking about inclusivity, right? We are building Web3 because we want everybody, people from Africa, people from India, people from Pakistan, unbanked people from the United States, Latin America, Central Asia, Central Europe, everywhere, access the blockchain, the network. That's the whole point. We're fighting against the unfair banking system that let us KYC, and if you're not from the right nationality, screw you. If you don't have enough money, screw you. If you're not from the right country, screw you. If you're not the right race, screw you, right? So that's how the banking system works. We in Web3 say, no. We are all inclusive, right? We are permissionless, anybody can access. How come RPC mint chain here does not enable me to enter? That's very weird. So I cannot access the MetaMask. I cannot add this chain to my MetaMask network. That was a real issue that we had to that we were faced with when we were deploying a mint chain. And we still said, okay, fine, screw you. Like, okay, maybe that's honest mistake, but apparently it's not. Right? So while mint chain positions themselves as an EVM compatible network, in reality they're not permissionless, right? Because they don't enable certain countries to enter. Clearly the engagement is total nonsense. So then the question is, how did they raise money, and why did they raise money in the first place? And the theory that we have about projects like Mint is related to money laundering. So what is money laundering? Well, money laundering is you have some not so clean funds and you need to make them cleaner. So what do? You invest in a business, in a coffee shop or car dealership or an IT company or real estate. So you do all those fun things. Congratulations. Then you go ahead and sell that specific asset or company or just receive revenue. And whatever you receive now that's clean, you pay tax and you are dealt with. So again, we're not trying to accuse Mintchain of anything in particular. I'm just talking in general about the theory I have about many projects that are Web 2.5 that are clearly Web 2.5. Because how can you possibly get 365,000 followers? How? How is that possible? Right? And yet, with all these followers, you only have like no freaking engagement. So clearly, these followers have been purchased. But if you purchase your followers, what else do you purchase? Do you purchase on-chain activity? Do you purchase TVL? What else do you do? Right? So that's where the questions, that's how and why the questions arise. And projects like Mint, I'm going to show you another one after this, could be potentially driving investors who want to clean their money. Because it's clear as day that Mint doesn't give a shit about developers. Because we are developers. We developed a completely new brand product. Ghost Auction. Deployed it. All they have to do is write a fucking article that's $10 to write it. Okay, fine, $100. They need to make a tweet or retweet, which they offer, thank you. They need to introduce us to 3 NFT collections, so say we don't have any NFT collections. And there was also a Galaxy campaign, which probably cost like $1,000 to run. So the cost for them to integrate a potentially promising project that last year brought 1.1 million unique wallet addresses and broke multiple testnets and chains, etc., which is Ghost NFT, bring that promising project Ghost Auction, pay $1,000 potentially, and test it. How many projects Mint has? Last time we checked was 20 projects, so that's $20,000 to check all 20 projects, right? Promise us the sky and actually deliver the sky, because the sky is not that high here, anyways, right? So, but they're clearly not interested. They just don't care, right? So if a chain that is built to attract development talent doesn't care about developers, then you have huge, absolutely huge following, but the actual engagement is non-existing. Then this could be a pump and dump scheme. That could be a money laundering scheme. I'm not trying to accuse Mint Chain in particular. I'm just saying projects like Mint, because there's so many, like, you look at meme coins, you look at myriads of forks of Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever that do the same thing or appear the same. And the question is, based on common sense, if a project, like if my project depends on developers, it costs me $1,000 roughly to, and actually if I do more projects at the same time, it's going to be cheaper, because $1,000 will do a Galaxy campaign for multiple projects at the same time. We don't need any airdrop, we just need to pay the fee or whatever. So, but fine. So if my chain purely depends on developers and each developer and integration cost me $1,000, and I clearly raised the money because I was able to somehow buy these followers, right? Then the question is, why don't I engage every single project? And again, the theory is that maybe this chain is not meant to be a chain. That chain is not meant to really change the world or disrupt whatever. This chain was launched, this project was launched to do some other things, right? Some other goals, which are way more clear. Before I proceed, I said some super caustic things here. Questions. From Jason, my question is, from your last presentation, do you think that it will be possible to onboard enough Web3 members without a general and thorough campaign as should? I asked this question because in the last session you regretted of your previous mode of campaign. Jason, I kind of understand your question, but not fully for me to fully respond. Could you please clarify it? And I will address it today for sure. If you could just clarify it a little bit, just so my answer will be more specific. And hopefully the microphone is working great. Please give a heads up to Cosmos for selecting a microphone. And finally fixing my headache. From Jason, isn't it clear that opening campaigns up for Web 1.0, Web 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, and 3.0 will be the best way to build the real adoption? No one is static in life. I see. So, and I think that question is coming from the last session, and on the last session we described the concept coming from Seth Godin about a tribe and about who should be in the tribe. And today, Seth Godin came out, well, actually yesterday, came out with a podcast by Eric Ries, I think, and Eric Ries is the author of the Lean Startup bestseller as well. So two bestsellers, Seth Godin and Eric Ries, have been. It's just amazing. You should watch it. It's on YouTube. It's free. And what Seth Godin is saying, he's saying, listen, many people, specifically in MBAs, which is Masters of Business Administration, right? So you go to college, then you go get your MBA. So those MBAs are, for the most part, taught how to be managers and not leaders. Managers meaning just manage, right? So, okay, so you come to the factory, make sure you do everything. We have KPIs. If you screw those KPIs, you're fired. If you excel those KPIs, here's a little bit of bonus, and next year we increase your KPIs to make sure that you don't excel them this time, right? So that's management. Now, Seth Godin says, well, but what about leaders? We need leaders. And Eric is asking, listen, but managers are great at profit, at estimating profit, right? So it's all about money. It's all about profit. And how do you value less tangible things, such as trust, for example, right? Or expertise, right? And Seth Godin is saying, absolutely, it's super difficult to quantify the long-term impact of trust that you develop within your tribe. However, he says that those terms, those intangible terms, do not need to be explained to the leaders because they subconsciously understand that those, essentially trust, for example, right? Those intangibles are the most important aspects of your specific tribe. To sum it up, it's not about the profit in the short term. That's what Wall Street is all about. That's what Wall Street is pushing VCs, and VCs are adjusting to it as well. Right? And the reason why that's happening, by the way, is because we had zero interest rates in the United States for the last, God knows what, almost 20 years now. And the money was cheap. And therefore, we had lots of bubbles in the VC space, in the startup space. And that startup mentality then also moved to crypto and created the Web 2.5 swamp, right? Because those same VCs with the same Web 2 thinking go to a Web 3 space, trying to build Web 3, but they're building Web 2.5, which is the same thing as Web 2 in reality, just covered as Web 3, Web 2.5. And the reason why they're doing this is because they had cheap money for the last 20 years, and that's the culture currently. And our goal with Ghost is to essentially prohibit these investors from entering by creating cool-ass, kick-ass Web3 projects. So if we focus on short-term profits, then yes, we need to focus on adoption today. We need to make sure that today we have not 10 people watching our podcast, but 10 million people watching our podcast. We should not be okay with 250 whales. We should be okay with 250 million whales, ghost whales, right? That's the only way how we could be treated as successful. The problem with that approach is that based on history, including Mint Chain, I'll show you another project right after this, they get lots of followers. So on a piece of paper, right, from a management perspective, 365,000 followers, wow, successful, very successful, right? Because those managers don't know how to dig deeper. They just like the surface, the surface research. But how many fans do they have? And the biggest question is, will you remember Mint Chain in 2 years from today? In 2 years, 2026, will you remember Mint Chain, for example? And in order to help answer this question, let me ask another question. Do you remember NEO protocol? Not NEAR, but NEO, N-E-O. NEO protocol. Do you remember them? Because they used to be the killer of Ethereum. A proof-of-stake fork, of Ethereum back in 2018. They were the killer from China. They were the killer of Ethereum. Everybody promised NEO will be the best. That's it. Because at that point of time, Ethereum was proof of work. And NEO said, no, we're going to be proof of stake faster. And they became faster. A proof of stake protocol. Where are they now? That was what, 2018, 2019, maybe 2020, they were still hot. 4 years. 4 years later, nobody is talking about them. Algorand, do you remember them? The hot shit since 2020. Where are they now? Even Litecoin, although Litecoin is a great protocol, but even Litecoin, right, fork of Ethereum, used to be top 7 protocol back in the day. One of the first forks ever of anything, right? I think Litecoin was just offering larger blocks, cheaper transactions than Bitcoin. There was like actually some utility there. And with due respect to Litecoin, because we like Litecoin, we think it's a great protocol. But where are they? Nobody's talking about them. Even Dogecoin, where is that? Sometimes you hear about this, but not as much as you heard about them back in 2020, right? So why is that happening? Because most of these projects, I'm not trying to say the Litecoin is or Dogecoin is, but many projects, Web 2.5 projects, all of them focus on profiting, typically at the expense of retail investors in the short term. So in the immediate term, you see like, wow, 365,000 followers on Mint. Wow, this is huge. How many super fans do they have? Do they have a tribe? Which takes time to build. So going back, Jason, to your question is like, oh, shouldn't we just essentially go for it and just, like do everything, go after everybody? And the answer is we shouldn't. We should only go after those who fully support the vision. And again, we should not be educating or converting, we should be assembling. Remember from last session? So we should be assembling Web3 believers who already believe in Web3 and just assemble the movement. That's it. That's it. We are just the voice uniting people who already think like us. Okay? Now, in Bitcoin, with all this fluff, with all this BlackRock, JP Morgan who changing their freaking minds every other week, 1 week Bitcoin is a scam, the next week Bitcoin is amazing. Then the next week again, like something else, right? So I guarantee that with Bitcoin, you have die-hard fans. And the number of die-hard fans of Bitcoin is not even close. I think it's less than 10,000 people. And Bitcoin is, huge market cap, $1 trillion market cap. And I think the actual fans is maybe 10,000, like die-hard fans. That's Bitcoin. Same thing Tesla. You remove all the fluff, remove all the tourists, right? Like all the Tesla tourists, all the, like somewhat, critics, like myself, for example, of Tesla. Take die-hard fans. The die-hard fans of Tesla will probably be 10,000 people. And those are the absolutely largest brands. So if you take, say, Ghost, how many do we need? Anywhere between 100 to 1,000 die-hard fans. And if we do that, something is telling me that we are going to be at least top 100 chains in the world. At least. Based on market cap, because based on the activity, the market cap will follow. And the proof of that is Monero. Got delisted from everywhere, and Monero is still kicking ass. Because they have die-hard fans supporting it. Every single exchange said we cannot trade Monero anymore. Right? Because of European regulations, US regulations, whatever. Okay, so that was Mint Chain. I think we should move to the next one, just to prove how this is not really good. Okay, so let's go to Twitter again. Boom. Now on Twitter, I love my microphone. It's working great. I don't have to worry about it. So crazy. Cosmos, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Phantom. Oh, it's no longer Phantom, guys. They rebranded to Sonic Labs. No way. Sonic Labs. Okay, as of this week is not over yet. As of this week, Phantom Chain. Switch the name to Sonic Labs. Rebrand. The marketing managers in power, right? 530,000 followers. Remember, we have 20,000 followers, right? So Phantom, let's give Phantom some kudos. Definitely have better engagement, right? So, again, we're excited to launch Sonic Labs across all platforms, whatever. So now they're like rebranding. That's like a huge event. Fine. Okay. Although here we only have likes from the podcast. Okay. Now here's 100, like 200, right? Here's 1,000 again. Maybe just repost it. Maybe it's probably the same post, right? So remember, every 500th person for Ghost is liking or retweeting. Now we have 20,000 followers. Not even that. They have 500,000. So supposed to have 25 times the engagement. So each post is supposed to have 1,000 likes and 1,000 retweets for Phantom. Where is that? I mean, I see 1,000. That's great. But what about here? 275. Better than us. But guys, they have 25 times more followers. 72. Right? And again, like something really happened to them. And also some of those posts are reposted. Right? So we have to like, what are the authentic ones? Okay, so this is the authentic one, 70, right? So what community are we talking about? This is Unchained Layer. By the way, reposted, right? You see reposted. So it's not even the engagement. So not all of it is the engagement. Why are we bringing this up? Because Cosmos yesterday was pretty... Cosmos, sorry for kind of revealing this, but like pretty aggravated. Like the whole point is this. Okay, Phantom. We came to them and said, hey, we can deploy a dApp. And Phantom really needs developers, right? Really needs freaking developers. And when we came to them, they gave us a tweet and retweet, and that was it. That was their support. When we asked Phantom, guys, can you please introduce us to your ecosystem partners like NFT collections? They said, sure, here's a fucking group. Join it and introduce yourself and good luck. So zero facilitation when it comes down to trying to introduce anybody to anybody, right? From one perspective, that's Web3 approach. Sure, like just, think or swim, right? Like essentially, figure it out or not. But from perspective of trying to grow your chain when you are a clear fork of Ethereum and not that much better, you need to be 10x better as far as integrations. So you should facilitate. Because Gnosis, being a Web3 project, facilitates. Gnosis facilitates. Phantom didn't. So the reason why this is a complete pile of horse shit here when it comes down to this marketing approach is they think, the leaders would think, listen, we are a Web3 project. We are a chain. We are EVM compatible. We support smart contracts. We need to have smart contract integrations, as many as possible. Therefore, we need developers. Listen, if anybody wants to integrate on Phantom, we need to give them anything they request as far as introductions, promotions, tweets, retweets, articles, because they cost nothing. They cost like article, $100. Tweet, retweet, cost nothing. Well, of course, there could be some legal, legal consequences if you say repost or support a project. But again, that thing could be easily debated, right? Because if your legal team is saying, hey, you are responsible for the project, well, you're not responsible for the project. You're just announcing that this specific project deployed on Phantom. You don't need to say that's the best project. You don't need to say that's a hack or virus or whatever or vulnerability free project. You don't need to say that. You just need to say that project XYZ deployed on Phantom. And you can write articles about it, right? So that level of promotion, you're not promoting a project, you're promoting integration on your ecosystem, which is kind of what you're vouching for. And that's what leaders would say. What managers would say is, listen, let's create an impossible 20-step process for any dApp who wants to badly integrate with us to really integrate. And of course, how many projects will go through this 20-step process? Nobody. Like, for example, we are no KYC, like we essentially anonymous. Pseudo-anonymous project goes to pseudo-anonymous. I cannot tell you how many projects, how many chains told us that because we cannot reveal our names, they cannot promote anything officially. Chains, EVM chains, who are looking for developers in a Web3 space, which is supposed to be anonymous. Why? Because Bitcoin is fucking anonymous. Unless you guys know who's Satoshi Nakamoto, which is me, or Cosmos. Or that team member. Or not. Right? So the whole space is anonymous. That's the whole design, right? You don't have to be known, right? Because every single piece of code is open source. Check it out. Hire developers to check it out. And then you can integrate with it. You don't need to know who wrote it, especially if the contract is not upgradable. Or a chain is not upgradable. Because there is whatever consensus protocol that is proper. So just another kind of aggravation from Cosmos and also from myself that instead of trying to bring more developers and more development talent like us, like Ghost Auction, Ghost NFT, etc., they thought that a much better promotion technique for the chain that has no developers is just to rebrand. So now instead of Phantom, they have this name Sonic Labs, which apparently that stands for fast, offering secure gateway to Ethereum and complete one block finality. World's fastest EVM. We'll see because Avalanche is the world's fastest EVM, and Solana is the world's fastest chain, and Hedera is the world's fastest chain. And who else is the world's fastest chain? Everybody is the world's fastest chain now. Good luck competing. Oh, the name will help you a lot. So these are some of the things I wanted to discuss today. That yes, the space Web3 is swamped with bullshit Web 2.5 projects. That's insane. On this note, let's go through the questions. Jason, exactly. NEO was a popular Chinese chain. I think the antagonist Chinese policy affected them. You're absolutely right. Well, they did, right? But here's the thing. They could have moved, because I spoke to NEO. At some point of time, they had a market cap of $3 billion. Right? I said, guys, if you pay us $50K, we will essentially design a bridge between NEO protocol and all the other blockchains. Thing is, because they're not exactly EVM, like we need like some custom whatever integration. And they said, well, 50,000 is too much. $50,000. The cost of a developer is anywhere from 100 to 150,000. That's a junior developer. If you're looking for a CTO, that's 300,000 plus bonus. A year with zero responsibility. We said 50K and we'll build a fucking bridge connecting your dying ecosystem to the rest of EVMs. And they said, no, that's too expensive. We said, well, wait, but your market cap is $3 billion. They said, no, it's just the market cap. The market cap is high, but we don't have the money. That conversation took place 2 years ago, directly with somebody from NEO. We'll have a chance to meet with NEO Protocol at one of the major conferences. By the way, that conference is going to take place in Japan, Tokyo. It's going to take place in the next 3 weeks. So if you are in Japan, hit me up, and it would be great to meet you in person and enjoy some sushi together. But NEO Protocol will be there. Mint Chain will be there as well. So it would be great to, essentially learn more about what the hell is happening to both of them. Mr. IDK, so how do you better find and vet partners? So typically, let me ask you this question: how do we better select stocks that we decide to invest in, or how do we better find our life partners that we want to marry or date, or have kids with, or how do we find business partners with whom we would like to start new ventures? Right. So it's all experience. The answer is experience. There's no other answer. But experience is such an all answering tool, because after you look through the first 50 to 100 projects, you develop fast intuition behind why many projects are bad, and you in most cases don't even have to deep into the tech. Like, you don't even need to go on GitHub and try to go through all the folders and try to understand how the code works. You start seeing on the homepage the verbiage that reveals that this project is a Web 2.5. Almost always. Like, for example, no longer, like, project, for example, can have a valid proposition. If you lose your keys, no problem. Everybody loses their keys. Like 20 to 25% of Bitcoins are lost because keys are lost. So we have a mechanism to make sure that your keys could be retrieved back if you lost them. For example, right? That's a valid proposition. I'm talking about wallets, right? So if your private key is gone, the reality with that situation is that if your private key is gone and somebody can retrieve it, it means that somebody has access to your private key. Right? So like, it's like basic logic. And then the question is, why the hell do you have my private key? Well, because I want to make it easier for you. Yeah, it also means that you can steal all the money from me. Right? Or for example, like this one wallet in particular. Okay, so yeah, somebody's not going to be happy. Somebody who's listening is not going to be happy, but I'm going to say this anyway. So this wallet, they don't have access. They say they don't have access to the keys, but they store those keys on a server, right? And that server then encrypts those private keys So the team supposedly doesn't have access to those keys. But the server contains all these keys. And when a user tries to access the wallet, and therefore the funds, the interaction happens through the server. What happens if the server decides to break down? Well, then we probably need a backup server. Oh, interesting. Who has access to the backup server? What if you forget to pay for the backup server or for the server, and then the server will just discontinue its operations and will essentially clear its entire database within 24 hours or sometimes a month? So all the users will just lose access to their wallets altogether, right? Because for the user experience, for the better user experience, now you are putting your whole money in jeopardy. It's like saying, listen, it's very difficult to store gold. So how about I store gold on your behalf? Because it's so difficult to store it. But listen, this gold will be stored in my vault, and only I have access to it. And you can come and visit and see that you have it there, right? But if, for whatever reason, you want to move your gold to your own wallet, we're going to say, no, because that's not convenient for you to store your own gold. Don't you know that? Like, that's like the bullshit freaking excuses we hear from Web 2.5 projects who are just, like creating all this nonsense. Like, yeah, if you lose your private key, too bad. Don't lose it. Yes, that's that's not a bug. That's a feature. Don't fight it. That's a feature of Web3. Don't fight it. Don't lose your fucking keys. Store them. Create a system. Read a book on how to store keys. Read a book on cybersecurity, for example, and some security protocols. We sometimes like to refer to security protocols of nuclear plants, right? Because they have, the best security protocols in the world. Take a book, read it. Take an article, read it. Typically, there are multiple steps of how you protect your, the access to the, to the plant, to the nuclear plant. Or how do you protect, like, let's tell Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola story, whether it's true or not, that the recipe of Coca-Cola, which is super secret, only 2 people have access to it. And they never fly the same plane. They never, take the same car, taxi, whatever. They're always distant when they travel. And they have 2 keys or something, and one person puts a key, the other person puts a key, boom. So now those 2 keys, and with those 2 keys, you can reveal the recipe. So it's like super, super secret. To which Web 2.5 project will tell you, no, you can lose it, right? You can lose it. Give it to us. It's safe with us. Don't worry. But what does trustless fucking mean at the end? Because trustless means I don't have to trust anybody, but in Web 2.5 projects, I have to trust somebody. Because it will make it easier for me, right? Or more secure, or whatever other bullshit term they create or bullshit propositions they create, which are totally not true. So how do you find better ways, essentially find better and better partners? We go through thousands of bad partners, and then we get one good partner. So that's the only way. That's the only way. So we have to try, we have to see, we have to observe, we have to learn, we have to educate ourselves. Great questions. Any other questions for the day? If not, Luxury Rights Vault. That's a new person. Welcome. I'm loving this. Everyone accessing this blockchain idea. Absolutely. So the only thing we need to do is we absolutely need to create more educational materials. Just lots of busy things. We are actually going to be trying out running the Ghost node sometime this upcoming week ourselves. And once we do that, share with you guys very, very shortly. It came ahead of timelines, ahead of our expectations. The dev team, kudos. The dev team is rock and rolling and just crazily working days and nights. Cosmos will be testing it this week, and if it's good to go, we're going to be testing with you guys very, very soon. That's why we're asking, do you have a Windows machine or a Linux or a Mac or maybe just a phone in order to essentially for us to identify which operating system do we need to start testing the Ghost node on. And then we're going to slowly be enveloping onto other systems as well. Most likely it's going to be Windows. And then Linux, which is Raspberry Pi, because Raspberry supports Linux. Then, what else? Yeah, I see from the whales already the criticism. I knew that not everybody will like my analysis of the wallet. But listen, you either part of Web3 or not. Like, we are not for everybody. Sorry, we're just not for everybody. If you're Web3, come to us. If you're not Web3, listen, there are many Web 2.5 projects. Please be our guest. Go there. On this positive note, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your weekends. Really appreciate your participation. See you guys next week. The microphone is working amazing. Cosmos, thank you so much. See you guys. Bye bye.